been outstanding for years. We needed to get it out of the way. There's also I mentioned the culture policy. There's also issues related to taxes that the industry players have been complaining about, that we're working on to try and resolve, make it easy for them. Of course, the December in Ghana, which is very high on their tourism agenda, team had to be put together to work and try and make sure that it moves on smoothly. Of course, internal issues within the ministry and all that needed to be cleared. Fort and castles, issues related to World Heritage sites, and several others that maybe if we find time to speak about the ministry, then I can come properly so we delve into them. But
yes,
by and large,
we will. But the vice president admitted that not much has been done for the creative arts since the NPP came into power. You made quite a number of promises yesterday when he met the press. You made quite a number of promises when the NPP took over, and I'm just wondering how many, because now that you're measuring your performance by percentages, how many of them have you?
Two or three nights ago, I think it was a Friday evening, I formally launched the December in Ghana.
Okay. Is that different from Beyond the Return, or
it's part of the Beyond the Return activities? Okay. And listening to the presentations of some of the stakeholders, I think that the platform itself that has been created is very huge, but we've not been trumpeting it enough. Okay, because even though it's tourism focused, every content that is showcased in December is creative arts and culture. Of course, if that platform had not been there, that would have meant that creative artists may not necessarily be able to showcase their craft to that kind of audience. For me, that's a big deal. The December in the year of return itself was a big deal that was initiated by the NPP administration. We didn't stop there. We then followed up with the Beyond the Return 10-year program that is hinged on 7 pillars that is seeking to drive Ghana and sell Ghana to the world, drive investment into Ghana, especially from our diasporan brothers. I think it's a huge platform that has been created for creative artists, and many of them appreciate what it is that government has done. Certainly, like Oliver Twist, we always ask for more. And even during the COVID period, the kind of support that government provided to the industry, both the tourism sector, hospitality industry, and the creative artists, there was a $20 million grant that was disbursed to support them, because clearly it had impacted their businesses significantly, negatively, of course, and government needed to come in to provide huge support. Amphitheaters that are being built to ensure that there's venue for our performing artists to showcase their craft. Of course, it's not been completed, but some work has been done there. The Creative Arts School that is being put up in the Ashanti region, Kwadaso, when it's completed, will be a huge boost. And so, yes, I think that some work has been done for the sector. It's okay for people to ask for more, which is okay. Like I said, we're actually working on the tax incentives for the creative arts
There was
film.
a promise to set up a creative arts fund.
Yes. The problem is that the LI that would trigger it has been delayed. And it's one of the things that I've been working on since I got in there, to try and get it through cabinet so that the fund can be set up. If I recall, I said myself July, but unfortunately we couldn't meet the deadline. But it's something that is high on the agenda. We'll try to push it through and complete before the end of our term.
All right, let's welcome the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, Samuel near to George. Sam, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, sir. Good
Okay,
morning
so
to my brother Will.
Morning, long time.
Ade.
so just before we joined, we're talking about his sector, which is the Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry, and the work that has been done there. He admitted that yes, well, he said some work has been done. I was telling him that not much has been done for the creative arts, but he said that some work has been done, but. Of course, it's okay to ask for more. Some, I'm sure that it's a sector that you have an interest in.
Yes, I do.
Have you been monitoring? Are you impressed with the work that they have done there so far? Very quickly.
Well, let me say a very good morning to our viewers. The creative arts, or we call it culture, arts and tourism economy, is one that you can't run away from. It's a very critical economy. It's a place where, before coming into politics, I used to play in. In fact, my first business I ever set up was in the creative arts, you know, and worked with artists like Sarkodie.
Oh,
At the
really?
time, Sarkodie, and he himself said it during his last. He was telling Hammer. At the time, he wasn't my main artist. That's how young he was at the time when
What were
did
you
a
doing?
show. I was running events organizations.
Okay.
I was doing activations for a lot of the multinationals at the time. Running events. At that time, I think one of our last concert with Sarkodie, R2Bs were the big act at the time. They were the headline acts with the Skillions and J So, and also we've played in that space for a while. That's when R2Bs came out with Ademado, Ade Go Crazy, you know.
Oh, I
That's
see.
way back. This is almost 20 years ago, you know. So it's a big space that we can play, and I will be the last person to say that the year of return and beyond the return initiatives have not been a very good thing for Ghana. I mean, in that space, I would say that the idea, the concept, extremely commendable. Execution, we could have done it better, because you look at some of the numbers that we see and the push through that comes through the country in December, and why we've restricted it to a December thing. We could have expanded the year of return and beyond the return to go beyond just the December raves, because you've got the Easter, which is very big in Kwewu. You realize that the Kwewu thing has not been factored into the whole diaspora return and Ghana being a tourism destination thing. One. Two, you also realize that we've got a number of festivals. You've got Odura, you've got Abuachire, you've got Homowo, you've got Asafotufiam. A lot of this festival. So what you should actually be seeing, and that's why I'm saying that you don't have execution hasn't been the best under this government. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. If you read our manifesto, we talk about the Black Star experience, because it's supposed to make Ghana a 12.
How would that be? How different?
That's
would
what
that
I'm
be?
explaining to
Okay.
you. The Black Star experience is supposed to allow you come to Ghana at any time of the month. Because remember, it's not everybody in the diaspora outside Ghana who's able to travel in December. The people who have their travel times in summer, some have them in during the Easter breaks and all of that. And so you must create an opportunity for people to see Ghana as a 24/7, 24-hour, 24/7, 365 destination. And we've got the festivals, we've got the activities to keep Ghana active the whole period. Now, the other part of this whole thing that they've done, that I think could have been done better, is that when you look at the whole Ghana as a tourism destination, it's been limited a lot to parties, the Afrocellas, the Afro Nations, and all of that. But again, you look at those activities and you realize that most of the vendors were not Ghanaian. So yes, the destination is Ghana. The pull-through is Ghana. The airlines bringing the people are not Ghanaian. The hotels that they are sleeping in are largely not Ghanaian owned. You've got vendors at the events, stage, light, production. Many of them came in from Nigeria. So a lot of the money came in, but it didn't sit in here. It just passed through the country, and the country really didn't get benefit for it. And those are some of the things that we need to work out with the Black Star experience to ensure that, again, people came into Ghana and it was just attend Afro Nation for 3 days, walk around Osu, leave and go. we didn't really market our tourism destinations. We've got loads of tourism destinations across the country that have not been properly marketed. Now, the problem again is access to those tourism destinations. Many of those tourism destinations are poorly managed. I remember 2 years ago, as part of preparations for my anniversary that I did with my anniversary renewal of vows, we decided to use a castle somewhere in the central region. And we went there, and the gentleman is running the castle as his own. I mean, he asked me to pay him for it, and I said, I want a receipt from the Monuments Board, because castles and forts are supposed to be run by the Ghana Monuments Board. I realized that he'd set the place up, was actually renting portions of the castle out to individuals and taking the money himself. Because there's no one really coordinating it. We've got fantastic...
When was this?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Were you minister then?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't in the tourism sector at the time. But you run through... So I had to call the Monuments Board's people and say to them, look, you can't be leaving our forts for individuals to run these things. This should be revenue to the state. Because we go to some of these countries and you go to the sites that are historic and the way they've preserved them. And I know, for example, that the Dutch embassy is open and willing to do some partnership with the government of Ghana to restore some of the Dutch forts that litter our coastline. You know, it comes back to the way we package it and get in touch with them, okay? Because at the end of the day, these are relics of a past that we must tell the story of. But like I said, the Black Star experience is one that we're going to harness properly. We're going to improve access to our tourism sites.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, because we need to not just improve access to our tourism sites, but build a thriving creative industry. I mean, again, the NPP government's played a lot of rhetoric and lip service to building and boosting our creative industry, the creative arts sector. I mean, Bobo's been sent there in injury time. There's very little he could do. I mean, at a time when the economy has tanked and all of that. Because at the time this government came in and had a lot of goodwill, especially from the creative arts, they promised to build us centers of national, they promised to build theaters in every one of the 16 regions, or at the time 10 regions. They promised that we're going to see these centers, which were supposed to boost the creative industry. We haven't seen even one in 7 years and 8 months. Our film industry was very buoyant. No matter how much we laughed at it, Kuma Wood was still active and employing people. Today, Kuma Wood is literally dead, you know. And those are things that we need to look at. Those in the sector
will tell you that it's not dead.
Sorry?
Those in the sector will tell you it's not dead. I had a conversation with Prince David Osei a couple of days ago. He said,
I mean, Prince David Osei is a sounding board for the NPP. What you don't expect him to be very frank and honest.
He said it's not dead.
Well, that's what he's saying. How many movies were they producing before his party came into office, and how many movies are they producing today? How many movies in a year did Prince David Osei feature in under John Mahama, and how many is he featuring under his own party today? I mean, he's more interested in getting handouts and chasing government contracts than the movies that he's known for. So, I mean, let's not take Prince David Osei's words seriously in that space. But look, like I said...
But the minister is here. Is it dead?
Not at all.
But
indeed.
Well, if I could just land.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I mean, I will. Yeah. I just wanted to ask him that very quickly.
You don't expect Bobo to admit that it's dead, but it's not me or Bobo who will say it. It's the number of movies that are churned out. These are hard facts. These are real facts. How many movies were being churned out? How many movies was in a month or in a year was Lil Wayne producing? Ejako, how many movies were they producing in a month, in a year? At a point in time, we thought that the turnout from Kuma Wood was just too much because you couldn't even keep up with it. Today, you have most of these actors becoming politicians and becoming appendages of politicians because their industry is dead. If your mother is dead and you claim that she's sleeping, when it's time for food, everybody will realize.
We're actually working on the Shoot in Ghana policy now.
Shoot in Ghana policy?
Yeah, with the National Film Authority. Okay.
Is it part of, is it an existing promise or is it new?
It's an existing policy that we're rolling out. Okay. The Ghana movie industry was actually rebranded in 2021 as Black Star Film. Okay, so it's interesting that all of a sudden the NDC have fallen in love with Black Star, that they say they're going to roll out a Black Star experience. We thought about it and rolled it out 2021. And I have the news article here. Okay, the National Film Authority has announced a new brand name for Ghana film industry, Black Star Films.
Wasn't there some controversy surrounding
well,
this?
But yeah, there was certainly some objection. But the thought and the implementation has actually taken place. Okay, it's interesting when I hear my friends speak, because sometimes it seems to me that they just dropped from Mars, and that all of a sudden they've assumed some new personality that makes them unique. You've been in government. Why? There were no problems with our forts and castles when you were there. Indeed and in fact, our forts and castles have been abandoned since they were listed in 1978 on the World Heritage List. Such that when I came into office, I'd had to put up a proposal that Cabinet has approved 126 million and has given us over a 4-year period. We did a plan submitted to Cabinet approved for $12 million this year, and I have the commencement certificate here that I can show you. That we're working to restore the forts and castles that have been abandoned by successive governments, including yours. So to make it look as if everything is bad and that you are the ones who are now dreaming of coming to do something in the sector, it's really baffling. Look, we live in a country, we have challenges, no doubt, because our resources envelope is such that it cannot meet all our expenditure needs. And so you prioritize and roll out some of the things as and when. Okay? And so to suggest that, you have the magic wand to come and change the sector, really, it's neither here nor there. Okay? The government, pursuant to the resource envelope availability, has done significant well for the sector. Like I said, right from the very beginning, there's always more that people can ask, and there's always more that governments can do. And we certainly are intended on putting tourism and the creative arts rightfully where they belong as part of the new economy that we're building, so that we can resource it adequately to drive in the traffic that we so desire. 10 years ago, there were only 40,000 people coming into Ghana annually. Today, it's 1.3. Okay? All because of the initiatives that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government has rolled out. And of course, you start from somewhere and build up and include all the things, Experience Ghana initiative that has been launched. It's all intended to drive traffic into our country. And we're working at other initiatives that will enable us do exactly that.
So
okay.
If I could just,
yes,
it's interesting the way the MPP likes to bandy around numbers. 1.3, they just 1.3 million, Bobo, it's factually incorrect, because what they do is they just take all arrivals at Kotoka International Airport and say that that's coming in because of the return. This year, I know how many times I've traveled in and out of the country. I'm part of that 1.3 million. The number of times I've come, the number of times people have.
How do you compile the data then? He said they
simply use the 1.3 million that they're referring to as immigration statistics of arrivals in Ghana.
For December or throughout the year?
No, throughout the year. Throughout the year. Okay, and that's why I asked, if people are coming in April, what event are you doing that brought people in April or May? There's regular traffic going through Ghana. Okay, and so you cannot sit back here and just bandy 1.3 million and say, there was 40,000 sometime and now it's 1.3 million. That's not factual. In fact, that's very pedestrian if you want to do real qualitative analysis of times and periods. But it's rich coming from the NPP that, the NDC has been in government before and now they are behaving like they've got new ideas. Look, we're in government. We did our bit. The Ghanaian people said it wasn't good enough. You promised them better. They took us out of government, which is a sole right and preserve of the Ghanaian people. They brought you in. You were in. You're pretending of a mess. And in that mess, you are asking us to give you a new mandate. In fact, you yourself are admitting, your flag bearer is admitting the mess that he has created collectively with you and the entire government. You've created the mess. He admits there's a mess and says, give me a new mandate, I'll fix the mess. And you think that you are credible. Meanwhile, we who have been out of office for 8 years had the opportunity of hindsight, had the opportunity to sit down and take stock of and review our past performances, realize our shortcomings, admit them, and work on solutions to fix our weaknesses and strengthen our successes. You say we are not good enough to come back to government, but you, who has brought us to the doldrums, the lowest parts in the history of this Fourth Republic, you think that you have the right and are fit to continue. I mean, what kind of double standard is that? Bawumia talks and tells you that, oh, I know that e-levy is really not working, so give me the chance, I will scrap e-levy if you vote for me again. Meanwhile, Bobo sat in parliament and argued vociferously because Bawumia told him and his colleague MPP MPs that e-levy was the best thing to happen to Ghana since Ben's Bread and Coca-Cola, and that e-levy was going to fix all our problems. Bobo argued and debated the e-levy tax in Parliament when it was introduced that year in Parliament. He was the vice chairman of the Communications Committee at the time. He defended it and debated it. Today, he's sitting here. If you ask him about e-levy, he will tell you it's a bad thing and that if you vote for Bawumia, they'll scrap it. Meanwhile, they defended it. Double standard, speaking from both sides of their mouth. Before Bawumia and Bobo came to office, did the Ghanaian youth know anything called bet tax? Did Ghanaian people know anything called emission levy?
We will get into all of that.
All of these are issues. I'm just using this as examples. We've not gotten into the matter. I'm just scratching the surface. I'm just showing you the hypocrisy and double standards of the NPP. The fact that they speak from both sides of their mouth when it's convenient for them, and that they are not people whose words you can take at face value or consider trustworthy. We have had the opportunity to sit back, take stock, and recalibrate ourselves, and we offer a credible alternative to the misgovernance, the maladministration, and the sheer wanton ineptitude that you see in government today.
All right, let's move on.
So,
let's move
wait,
on,
wait,
because
wait.
once you respond,
So
you
when I
to
put out the
respond.
figures,
let's get into the main issues.
No, we'll get there. When I put out certain figures, he
With
said
regard
that
to
the foreign arrivals, okay,
Yes.
the tourism arrivals, he said that it was immigration data and that includes him. That's false, okay, because I have the data 2023 tourism report that tells you even the countries, okay, the ranking of countries and the number of people that arrive in Ghana. That data does not include Ghanaians, okay? That's a matter of fact.
where from
I've given
that
you
data?
the Ghana Tourism Report,
Okay.
2023. It was published in March of this year. Okay, the United States is the top arrival, and it gives you quarterly arrivals.
Can you share that document?
Of course,
with
I
me?
can share it with you.
Yeah.
Nigeria, UK, Germany, India, China, Liberia, Netherlands, Canada, South Africa. This is the top 10. Okay,
And the
it
Nigerians
gives
are
you-
coming here because of year of return.
it gives you the quarterly arrivals. I'm saying that people come into Ghana for all sorts of reasons. Okay.
So it's not necessarily because of year
I'm
of
coming
arrival.
up. I didn't attribute it necessarily to year of return. I'm saying that Ghana has been put on the map. And if you look at the numbers that are coming in to Ghana, it has increased significantly by reason of policy interventions that government has rolled out. And I've said that the experience in Ghana is an all year round program, okay, that seeks to promote Ghana. So let it not be made to look as if, the point that I was making was to attribute all our arrivals to year of return.
And to only December.
And to only December, because
It's for the
not.
entire year.
It's an entire year. You see, sometimes, right, kettle calling the pot black. Your president said to us that Agenda 111 was what? 419. He said, Kayaye, that the vice president or the MPP had indicated were going to bring them some relief by way of accommodation, was what? Trick to buy votes. Have you seen their manifesto? The kinds of things that they condemned, that today they say they want to do. Free SHS that you organized, adverts played on this your station against. you have one mouth to speak. Mr. Mahama goes to Harvard and says the impact of COVID-19 on global economy and its impact, especially on Africa, and excludes Ghana because Ghana is an island, right? Look, take it or leave it. You guys can bury your faces in the sand and pretend as ostriches. But the greater majority of the people of this country know the havoc that COVID-19 caused on our economy. Prior to that, we all saw the signs. And so we went to IMF to try and reposition ourselves and spring back. What accounted for Mr. Mahama taking us to IMF? Cough in China. Cough was a reason for your going to IMF with us. You want to reset. We slept in darkness for 4 years under your watch. When we had excess capacity.
All right, let's come back to the substantive issue. Let's come back to the substantive issue.
You know, you can allow him go this way and not allow me to respond. No, but the point is only fair.
Yeah, of course, I'll give you a chance to rebut very quickly, and that will be it for this topic, and then we can move on to the main issue.
So I'm looking at the Ghana tourism report he spoke about. First and foremost, I stated emphatically that those were figures from Ghana Immigration Service. And even when you look at the tourism report, the table he's referring to is written there. They don't like to read. Source, GIS. GIS means Ghana Immigration
Service.
Where
else would you get the information? But it doesn't include you. That's the point that I'm making.
And then GTA.
It doesn't include Ghana.
No, but the table on international arrival. When you were speaking, I kept quiet.
I'm looking at the same report, by the way.
Now, when you look at the numbers, okay, and then go down and look at on the next page, I think that's page 6, the highest arrival countries in Ghana, and look at it: Nigeria, India, China. We know why the Indians are in Ghana. We know why the Chinese are in Ghana. It has nothing to do with tourism. Liberia, South Africa. We know why these countries are here. And that's why I'm saying that don't sit here and paint a picture that the 82,642 Nigerians who came here because of tourism. Or that the 19,725 Chinese who are here came here because of tourism. But you see, when you want to pick and choose and say, oh, Mr. Mahama went and said this and because of cough, I mean, you say because of cough. We didn't go to the IMF, going there broke and having defaulted on our debt repayment. We were able to still repay our debts. We went to the IMF simply for policy credibility. We went there with our own homegrown policies. The IMF did not give us any new initiative. They accepted Ghana's homegrown policies, and that gave us policy credibility to go on to the international market.
And this program of the IMF is what? It's not post-COVID recovery.
Honorable.
Initiated by Ghana.
Please, let him land. Thank you.
You have gone to the IMF, compelled to go to the IMF after your president and your finance minister told us as Ghanaians that we will not go there, that we're a proud nation, we won't go there. You had to go there after you defaulted in November 2022. I can't understand the arrogance of the NPP, that today they still sit on national TV and seek to position themselves as a credible or as a choice for Ghanaians. When since November 2022, you've not been able to pay a peso of your debt. You've defaulted on your debt. First time in the Fourth Republic that Ghana has defaulted on its debt. You've gone to the IMF because you cannot afford to pay the things you've borrowed. Reckless borrowing and mismanagement of what you've borrowed. And you think you can compare yourself to us. I'm not proud that the NDC went to the IMF. But the conditions that prevailed at the time compelled that we had to go there with our own policies and say to them that, look, we need the policy credibility.
All right.
With our IMF program, Ghana was still able to go onto the international market.
All right,
with
let's
yours,
move on.
You are unable to pay or service your debt. You are unable, you have no credibility. Our ranking today is junk status. Under the NDC, Ghana's economic ranking was not junk status. You cannot compare yourself Look, even in your wildest dream, you cannot compare your administration of this economy to that of President Mahama.
All
the
right,
facts
let's
are clear,
move on.
and
Thank
the evidence
you.
is there to show.
Thank you. So basically, today we are discussing mainly the creative arts, the tourism sector was just the start to, set everything in place. We're discussing the manifestos of the two main political parties. And then we will look at Dr. Bawumia's Meet the Press, which happened yesterday, which many people had been calling for. As to whether you're happy with the outcome of that Meet the Press, would like to hear from you. We're streaming on Facebook and on X and on YouTube as well. You can tweet at us on X using the hashtag GHToday. But let's start with the manifesto promises. And I'm going to give each one of you 5 minutes to tell us really the importance of these manifestos to the electorates, because many people have said over time that the promises that you make in your manifestos, you come and most of the time you don't fulfill it. And so they don't really see, to a very large extent, the use of the manifestos. I'm going to start with you, Mercer, on this one. What has been the importance of these manifestos over the years in our political system?
I think they are extremely important because it forms the basis of the social contract that governments execute with their people. Indeed and in fact, if you look at the previous governments that have come, all of them have put together a manifesto that seeks to outline their vision, their plans and programs for the country. We in the MPP have consistently done that. Thankfully, there is an independent organization in Imani that does an assessment of manifestos that political parties put together. And if you look at the track record of both the opposition and us, the MPP, when it comes to the delivery of our manifesto, MPP stands tall in terms of our ability to deliver on most of our commitments. In 2016, the commitments that we made, key amongst them being the free SHS policy, one district, one factory, and all that are all ones that we are consciously implemented for the benefit of the greater majority of our people. Yes, there are a few that, owing to circumstances that not necessarily within your control, you're unable to deliver. Okay, and so if you look at the NDC, for example, kinds of promises that they made in 2008 that made Ghanaians vote for them into power, many of them were not met. 110 premium comes to mind readily when they promised that NHIS was going to be made only 110 premium. They came into government and they threw it under the carpet and did all sorts of things. They promised reduction in fuel prices. They rather increased it and many other things that they did. And so it cuts across that political parties, when they put up their manifesto, it's good. It serves as a useful guide for people to see where their vision is, and if they buy into it, then they are able to, as it were, measure the government's performance based on the ability to deliver on the commitments that they make. But the truth is that it is impracticable in most cases, or as the record will show, that governments have not been able to meet all the commitments that they made. And speaking for the MPP, I can say that, but for the pandemic that struck, okay, many of the commitments that we made to the people of Ghana, we are stuck to them. Some have been delayed arising out of the pandemic, but significantly, we, based on the record, performance tracker that we published for everybody to evaluate and assess, clearly tells you that we have a better track record when it comes to delivering on our commitments. And that is why we are sure that the manifesto that we put across this time around is resonating with the people of Ghana, and it will give us the mandate to administer the affairs of this country going forward. You see, but Serwaa, it's important that, yes, when you close a subject matter, we try to bring closure to it. But it's important. There's no denying the economic challenges that we find ourselves in over the past 3 or so years. No denying. His Excellency the President has said it. The Vice President has said it. The Finance Minister has said it. there was a clear commitment not to go to IMF, which we intended to abide by. But we cannot overlook the circumstances that compelled government to take the decision to go to IMF. Why? We submitted a budget and said that we're going to implement significant cuts in our expenditure. Because history tells us that when you go to the IMF, the prescription that they will give you is cut your expenditure and raise revenue. And we said that that's exactly what we intended to do. We're going to introduce some new tax handle called e-levy to try and shore up our revenue to meet those external shocks that had hit our economy and cut our expenditure significantly. We go to Parliament, submit the budget. Parliament approves the budget. Parliament proceeds to approve the appropriation. And Parliament says that I'm not going to approve the revenue measure that I've approved in the budget for you to expend. Clearly in breach of Section 22 of the Public Financial Management Act. And it says simply that by 31st December, you're supposed to pass your budget, pass your appropriation, and every revenue measure that is going to the implementation of the budget. So if by 31st December, the revenue measures that were approved in the budget has not been passed, there will be consequences. And you saw the run on our economy in the first quarter of 2023. These are matters of fact. Purely on account of the breach of the law by your parliament, of which you're a member. There will be consequences. Then there's a war in Russia, Ukraine. That disrupts global supply chain completely, such that prices of freight moves from an average 2,500 to 18,000 United States dollars. It will have an impact on your economy.
I don't want you to worry. We will definitely talk about the economy.
Yeah,
but it's 5 minutes. I wanted you to introduce the manifesto conversation. Sam George, please come in. Don't worry at all. I'll give you time to talk about the economy.
Thank you, Serwaa. Let me just quickly state that you asked us to talk about our manifestos.
Yes.
He spent 6 minutes lamenting and talking about other things. He's not pointed one thing from their manifesto.
Oh, no, you didn't tell me to talk about my manifesto.
Well, that's what it was.
You
that
asked
was
me what the importance of manifesto was.
Bobo, I beg you.
No, but that's exactly the question you asked me.
That was the question.
I've tried.
Please, you let him finish.
I've tried
There's
not
time,
to interject
so don't worry.
The manifesto is empty, it's plagiarized, and it's driven by a lot of AI content.
Their manifesto.
I'm telling you.
You've taken the pains to do all of that work.
Absolutely, and I can give you instances and evidence of saying, okay, and since you say we have time, I'm sure we'll come to that. But I'll just tell you one thing. If Bobo sits here and says that the NDC promised one-time premium, the NDC was bold enough to come out and say to the Ghanaian people, we're sorry, we got that wrong. That's what leadership is about. We came out and said, look, we thought we could do this, we can't do it. It's a policy we are shelving. They can keep re-trumpeting it. But Ghanaians remember, and he says that they fulfill their promises. Ghanaians remember that in the NPP's manifesto for 2016, they promised that they were going to turn Nima from slums into high-rise buildings. That's what they promised. And even their commentators said, oh, because President Anado lives in Nima, they're going to make it high-rise buildings. They promised to change chop bars into world-class restaurants. They promised that they will put boats on the Odo, the way the Odo is smelling today. They promised that we're going to catch Chile and all the kinds of fishes that you catch in the sea in there, and we're going to put boats. That's your promise. Look, but we're not going to be swayed. For me, we handed over a robust economy, an economy on the bounce, an economy that was functional to the NPP, an economy that was on the right track. We had found 2 new oil wells that were being used for exploration. This economy has tanked in 7 years and 8 months. They've destroyed it. But there is hope because we're going to reset the economy. And that's why our manifesto is called Resetting Ghana. One of the first things that we're going to do is to look at the obnoxious taxes that have
But
been
over the
introduced.
years, Sam George, over the years, what has been the benefit of these manifestos? I mean, for instance, you are saying that their manifesto is empty, meaning it's not something that we should even decide to abide by or take into consideration.
Their manifesto, not our manifesto. Every party has its manifesto. And I'm just going to quickly, and that's why 2 nights ago or 2 days ago in Winneba, we did something there. President Mahama made a social contract with the Ghanaian people. His first 120 days. It's our social contract. The manifesto covers our 4-year span. But in the first 120 days, our people say, Agrobe Soa, Efrianapa. We've been very clear. In the first 120 days, he's going to nominate his cabinet ministers, full cabinet ministers in the first 14 days. He's going to run the leanest and most efficient government in the First Republic in 90 days. In 90 days, the setup of government will be complete pending parliamentary approval. We're going to establish a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials, because clearly there is none in this current administration. It's led to the free-for-all plain thievery. Can't call it any other thing. I know Bobo is not happy when I talk about thievery in government. He thinks that it's not good. But what's going on under this government is plain thievery. And people will be held accountable for that. Let's say that for the record. In the first 120 days, we will hold a national economic dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy and prepare a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the budget. Within the first 90 days, we're going to scrap the e-levy. We're going to scrap the COVID levy. We're going to scrap the 10% levy on bet winnings, and we're going to scrap the emissions levy. These are concrete promises in a social contract. 120 days. In fact, these levies will be scrapped in 90 days. Within the first 90 days in office, President Mahama is going to review all the taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported into this country for industry and agric. Because for us, industrialization is a key part of what we're going to do, and agri-processing is a key thing.
Her party is stuck by their manifestos over
And I'm saying
years.
to you that, Serwaa, 120 days. I'm not even looking at the full manifesto now. I'm telling you specifics of our 120 days.
Yes.
And I stick my neck out here that on the 1st of May, which would have been the end of the first 4 months of our governance, I will come back and sit here with your permission if you invite me.
Yes.
I think 1st May would most likely be a holiday, but if you're Workers' Day. But if you're going to be having a show, I will come back here and you can bring Bobo, God spare our lives, and let's go back through this economic social contract
That is if
I'm
you
reading
win.
out.
That is if you win.
I'm confident that we're winning.
Okay. Well,
But
he is also confident that they'll win.
In the
so
first 120 days, we would commence the drafting for the needed legal amendments to implement the 24-hour economy policy directly under the office of the president. In the first 120 days, we're going to set up an accelerated export development council that's going to be part of our broader strategy for economic transformation. In the first 120 days, we're going to convene a national consultative forum on education to build consensus on the needed improvements. Clearly, in the first 120 days, the president is going to implement the no academic fee policy. That's going to make sure that all first-year students in our tertiary institutions that will go into university and all the colleges of education in 2025 will go in free first year. And this includes universities, colleges of education, nursing training institutions, polytechnics. All of them are going to go. We're going to introduce the free tertiary education for persons with disabilities.
all right, Sam,
and
it's
the
time.
most
The 5
important
minutes
thing
is time.
the most
It's
important.
up.
I'm landing here. Mahama
Land,
Care.
yes.
You know in America they have Obamacare. Obamacare is one of the flagship things that people remember President Obama for, because it provided healthcare coverage to persons who hitherto did not have coverage. We're introducing Mahama Care, and Mahama Care is going to make sure that the sad scenes at Kolebu Renal Facility, where under this government they're able to spend $58 million, over 300 million, to dig a hole in the ground,
right.
but they can't find 4 million, and the renal facility keeps closing.
Thank you.
And our
So
citizens
the 5
are
minutes
dying.
is up.
We're going to deal with that.
Okay,
and
so
fix that.
since I wanted us to introduce the manifesto conversation, because last week Sunday we saw the NPP launch theirs, calling it the bold solutions for jobs and businesses. The NDC on Saturday launched theirs, calling it resetting Ghana.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now,
jobs, accountability, and prosperity for all.
All right.
Jobs, very important.
Okay.
Jobs.
Now, I mean, this is a running story, and there are many thematic areas to be discussed. And so you know that we'll be discussing it all week. In fact, up until the election time, which is about 103 days more. But there are some areas that I want us to focus on, because for instance, the promise of fulfilling certain things within 120 days or 100 days of being in office is part of the manifesto. Yesterday, and they have a document circulating on what they intend to do. The NPP doesn't have a document, but yesterday at that Meet the Press, the Vice President was asked the question on what he intends to do in the first 100 days if he becomes president, and he listed quite a number of things. So I want us to get into them. Let's start first of all with the economy and the removal of taxes, because the NDC has promised same, the NPP is promising same, removing the e-levy and then the betting tax, for instance, is one of the things that two of the main taxes that run across. And my question, Mercer, is, you know, and I'm sure that you have heard this question many times, why can't it be abolished now?
Because it's part of the fiscal policy that has been approved by Parliament. You have a certain revenue and a certain expenditure outlook for 2024. Which includes all the tax handles that the Parliament has approved. Okay, and so if you abolish it now, what it then means is that you have to find alternative means to fill whatever gap that abolition will create. And so that's why the Vice President commits that his first budget that he will present to Parliament by March of 2025 would abolish that revenue. Because what it then means is that he would have programmed his revenue handles for the year and accommodate the abolition of the e-levy, okay? And so that's the reason why it cannot be done now. In any event, like he indicated yesterday, the budget is that of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And he, being the executive president in accordance with Article 58 of the 1992 Constitution, has the power to decide what it is that he wants to roll out, okay? And His Excellency the Vice President is committing that when he gets the opportunity to govern, this is what he's going to do within the first budget presentation, which then takes account of the revenue handles that he programs to, as it were, run his budget for 2025. But it's interesting how I was part of the formulation of the NPP manifesto.
He was.
And to suggest that it is full of AI content is something that I take extremely offensive. Okay, because we have evaluated your manifesto.
It's also full of AI content.
I wouldn't describe it as full of AI content, but whatever you put in the internet or on the internet, when you ask AI to pull up a certain data set for you, it is likely to pull up what is already in place. Okay? And so to suggest that the NPP manifesto is AI, full of AI generated content, is really, really demeaning. And I think you should withdraw it. Because people actually worked through these proposals that then sought to align the vision that His Excellency the Vice President had put across during his lecture at GIMPA. Okay, flesh it out. It's gone through rigorous processes of validation before same was presented to the good people of this country. And those who suggest that it is AI generated content, it's pretty much offensive. Okay, your manifesto is a clear copy, in some respects, of what the NPP has promised, what the government is actually implementing now, and what your 2012 manifesto spoke to. Complete recycling. But it's your vision. I'm not going to have any quarrels with you. Okay? That's your vision. And it's surprising that they say in the first 120 days they're going to do all sorts of things. Why? The honeymoon is not going to be sought for anymore. Mr. Muhammad doesn't need a honeymoon anymore like he told us only a few months ago. Look, Serwaa, we have committed clearly, and if you look in the abridged version of our manifesto, where we outline the background, where we are coming from as a country, what we inherited, the kinds of things that we've been able to do, that puts us clearly apart from what the NDC had done. And they say they want to reset. Reset to where? Sam George alludes that when they were leaving the economy, they left Ghana a robust economy. When the IMF, remember, when they left, we were in an IMF program that you had taken us to. 18 months after the commencement of the IMF program, not one of the qualitative and quantitative targets that you set were met. The program that you had gone into the IMF had derailed completely, such that when we came into government, we had to renegotiate. IMF insisted that if the program is not extended, they were going to have to terminate. Remember? Serwaa? Do you recall? We were sleeping in darkness for 4 years. Your solution was to compound a financial problem with more, signing all sorts of contracts that led to today 35% of all the cost invoices that we generate from the IPPs are excess capacity payments. You want to reset back to that point? What we are committing is a rebound that we are going to sustain and expand our rebounding economy. Because the data speaks to an economy that is recovering from a global pandemic and a war that was not the creation of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his government, but which effect it had on Ghana's economy, such that we had to go through the difficult situation that we've gone through, including restructuring our debt that has impacted some of our citizens, because the alternative would have been worse. And so we recognize the challenges that we have had to face as a country. Okay, that's leadership. It's not the kind of things that Mr. Mahama is saying. When he was president for 4 years, all of a sudden he's gotten a new dream and vision that he could not articulate at the time that he was president. And yet they say that Mr. Mahama, but Dr. Bawumia, why is he not implementing the things that he's saying he's going to implement when he becomes president now? He's never been president. And so he's outlined his vision.
But he did some of the things.
No, I don't have a problem. Yes, he initiated.
So he couldn't have done everything.
We were told by Mr. Jenapo that Mr. Mahama, when he was president, I was actually listening to the video just before I came into your studio, was only attending social events, and that the serious work of governance was left with the president. I had the interview audio. I was actually listening to it right outside your window before I came in here. What we're going to do, create new jobs. Okay? And we've outlined the program, the incentives that we're going to ensure that those new jobs are created. We're going to implement wide-ranging tax reform. That His Excellency the Vice President has outlined clearly his vision in that regard. We say that we're going to reduce the cost of living because we recognize that electricity cost, transportation are key components that drive cost of living in our country. And so the power initiatives that we are intended on rolling out, 2,000 megawatts of power, EV vehicles that we're going to introduce to try and reduce the cost of living for the people of Ghana. We say we're going to expand public infrastructure, better health care that the Akufo-Addo government has started. Of course, because of COVID, we had to learn lessons from ensuring that in the future, when any such eventuality happens, we are fully covered and we have the infrastructure to take care of our citizens. So we're building 111 hospitals across the country. Serwaa, you should drive through Takoradi and go and look at Efia Kwanta Regional Hospital, which is being upgraded into a teaching hospital. What is happening there? Across every district of this country, work is ongoing to build these hospitals. We've indicated that we're going to improve our agriculture, okay? Because as a country, agric is a huge component of our economy. And so the investment that we're going to put in there, the one, planting for food and jobs, okay? Planting for development and export, okay? And all that, we're going to put a lot of impetus in that to ensure that we sustain our economy, okay?
You know, back to, yesterday, the Vice President said that in the first 100 days, he's going to scrap the e-levy.
Yes.
And I'm sure that you have all seen the revenue projections for e-levy and what we have made in since it was implemented. How, with all the things that you want to do, you want to scrap it. How do you want to implement these policies?
So what he's saying is that he wants to build an economy that is digital focused. And so because of that, he feels that taxing electronic transactions would discourage people from deploying that kind of economy that he wants to implement. And so he's taken away. But because of the reform, complete reform of the tax system, the tax amnesty that is going to provide, and the simplicity in the taxes, that is going to encourage a lot more people to be tax compliant. In any event, he is indicating that because of his desire to have the private sector play a key role in our infrastructure development, he is going to take away some infrastructure projects that ordinarily government will expend on, so that the private sector can participate in that on a PPP basis, which then means that government expenditure would reduce to sufficiently meet the other social obligations that government has with the revenue that is going to come and the shortage that e-levy would ordinarily then create.
Okay. Sam, on the economy and the scrapping of these taxes.
So before I go there, I'm just going to reiterate again, for the purposes of our listeners and viewers, the Ghana we left for the NPP, because that's the economy. We left an economy that had a sustainable debt to GDP ratio of 55.6%. We had a credit rating of B minus. Our budget deficit was just 6.1%. Inflation was dropping, was at 15%. We had a stable currency with a depreciation rate of 9% annually. Industry and manufacturing subsectors were growing. We'd made significant investments in our oil and gas. We discovered the 10 and Sankofa fields. We'd set up the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GIF, which was a strategic investment and cash buffer with an accrual of $270 million US dollars at the time we were leaving office. We had a sinking fund that had accrued $500 million US dollars and the stabilization fund which had accrued $300 million. Now, this is the economy we left for them. This is what they claimed they had nothing when they came in. We had built world-class facilities like the Ridge Hospital, the Bank of Ghana Hospital. We'd done the University of Ghana Medical Center. We'd built hospitals across the country, huge infrastructure. We'd gone on to deploy over 1,000 kilometers of fiber optic network across the country, spanning from Yendi, Tamale, all the way to Ho and down to Accra. We'd converted polytechnics to technical universities to increase access to tertiary education. We'd done the 14-kilometer Kojo-Krom to Sekondi and Takoradi railway line. We'd signed the contract and secured the funding for projects like the Kwame Nkrumah interchange completed, the Ring Road flyover, Kaswa interchange, Tema interchange, Pokwase interchange, Obechebe interchange, the Flower Pot flyover. We'd gone ahead to do the water projects in Chebi, President Akufo-Addo's hometown. We delivered water there in Chebi, in Osenasi, in Yenema, Pedra, in Kwabeng. We did all of this. We built a Twabo gas plant. I mean, to take off, and because I referenced the Twabo because Bobo was at the energy ministry, to offset $300 million annually that we were spending on gas. He keeps talking about us sleeping in Dumso for 4 years. Well, it wasn't us who took pastors to go and pray at Akosombo Dam for water. So Dumso preceded us. President Kufuor had a crisis of power. And I asked Bobo, he was at the Ministry of Energy for over 3 years. What new power plant did they bring on board? What new power plant have they brought in? Why did they extend AXA? Why did they extend the car power deal? If those deals were bad, as they paint them, if those interventions by President Mahama that brought in over 800 megawatts to stabilize our power generation mix, if they were bad, why have you extended them?
You want me to give you an answer?
You understand me?
When
and so
it's your turn.
This is the country that we built and handed over to them. We'd abolished the shift system. Now this is the country we're in. Our exchange rate to the dollar is in excess of 16. Today the dollar is changing at 16.3. The pound is 21. That's the country that we are with them. The country that we left them, we have hyperinflation of 54%. Our debt to GDP ratio has moved from 55.6% under the NDC to 104% in 2022. Look, the Ghana Statistical Service, not the NDC, the Ghana Statistical Service tells us that in 2023, 25% of Ghana's population, 8.5 million Ghanaians, went a full day without food. They slept on an empty stomach. They did 0, 0, 0 under your administration. Look, our debt portfolio was just 122 billion at the time we were leaving office in December. Today, it stands at over 742 billion, unhinged borrowing. But what is it that has led to all of this unhinged borrowing? What have they done with it? Not my words, not the words of President Mahama, the words of the Catholic Bishops' Conference. They say that corruption, massive uncontrolled corruption, has become the order of the day under your government. This is not me saying it, this is the Catholic Bishops' Conference. So, Serwaa, this is who they are. Bawumia was elected as flag bearer and effectively became the leader of the NPP in November 2023. The budget was presented in November 2023. If he had, as leader of the party, if his vision was really focused on the elimination of these taxes, he would have insisted as leader of the NPP not to have those things.
But was it his budget?
He was the leader of the party.
But it wasn't
his budget. The
his
leader of the party has great influence. And don't forget, Bawumia is not just leader of the party. At that time, he was the head of the economic management team that oversaw the budget. The economic management team is the economic policy of the government. It's not of the president, it's of the government. And there's someone who leads it. Today, Bawumia cannot run away from his role. Bawumia, you forgot they came a student and told us what a solid team. Serwaa, today, Bobo says that we are plagiarizing or that we've taken their content. And it's interesting how he said, oh, AI will tell you everything. And so he tried to explain the AI thing and says I should withdraw. I have nothing to withdraw. He doesn't talk about the plagiarism because that he knows he can't even argue out.
So you admit that it is not AI generated? I
haven't said so. I said there's nothing to withdraw because it's factual. That a lot of the things in their manifesto are AI generated. There's a way to run AI checks. I play in that space because even for academic institutions, we've developed platforms that allow lecturers to now check the dissertations of their students because students were beginning to use AI to run their dissertations. And so there are platforms that we now use to do academic evaluation of work that's generated to see if it was generated by AI. There are markers that you're able to see. So I'm not just speaking off the top of my head. We've done that proper evaluation, not what they're talking about. Now, let me come to the plagiarism and give you instances of plagiarism. On page 19 and 22 of their manifesto, they say they're going to train a million youth in digital skills. On page 19 and 22 of their manifesto. And since he's not giving you their manifesto, I'm going to give you things in there and show you why they are stealing items from the NDC. Meanwhile, on the 2nd of October, 2020, 2nd October, almost 4 years ago, President Mahama announced that we're going to train 1 million youth in digital skills. We're going to have coding, we're going to have web development, we're going to have software applications. And it's even on page 13 of our youth manifesto that we have already launched. It's called the 1 Million Coders Project. They think that because we call the 1 Million Coders Project, it's just coding and Python and C++ that we're talking about. No. On page 27, they claim that they're going to introduce free tertiary education scholarship for persons with disabilities. As far back as 27th of October 2020, President Mahama announced free tertiary education for persons with disabilities. Again, page 7 of our NDC Youth Manifesto for this year captures it. On page 21 of their manifesto, they now claim that they're going to abolish the betting tax. At Kempinski, when President Mahama on the 2nd of May 2023 held his Ghana at the Crossroads, he spoke about abolishing the betting tax. 2023, 2nd of May. On that same day, President Mahama spoke about abolishing the e-levy at that Ghana at the Crossroads speech. Now on page 23 of their manifesto, they are promising it. Tell me who is copying and stealing from the other, who is plagiarizing the other. Today, on page 26 of their manifesto, they're talking about establishing some women's trade empowerment fund. We, as far back as 9th of July this year, announced the establishment of a women's development bank. President Mahama spoke about. We're not talking about a fund. We're talking about developing Women's Development Bank because the issues of women's development in SMEs is critical for the next Mahama administration. They now talk on page 20 of setting up a fintech development fund after President Mahama had announced it on the 15th of March 2024 that we're going to set up a $50 million fintech development fund. And I chaired the NDC's subcommittee on ICT, digital economy and technology. And I know what plan and thought went into that. We're talking about building regulatory sandboxes for the fintech industry and growing that space. It's not the quick loot and share schemes that we see going on under this government that we have exposed repeatedly. But then they just come and plagiarize this. On page 28, they say they're going to cap ministers at 50. And I'm like, I mean, Bawumia is part of a government that had 122 ministers at a point in time. He never spoke out against it. He never said anything was wrong with it. As soon as President Mahama has announced that we're going to reduce the number of ministers drastically, as far back as 3rd of March, 2023, now Bawumia finds it expedient to talk about it.
Let me ask you something on that.
And I can go on and on. There's several of that. Sorry?
You're part of a party.
Yes.
When the NDC was in government, you had an appointment,
yes.
right? Did you ever come out to speak about the things that you disagreed with the party? And yesterday, a question was posed to him that, did he ever disagree with anything that was done in his government? And he made a point that collectively, when they sit at cabinet and make a decision, whoever opposes to it, at the end of the day, when a decision is made, a decision is made. You didn't expect the vice president to come out and tell you that the size of government is too big, did you?
Meanwhile, he brought people who were part of that 122, including his own sister. At least he could have withdrawn his sister. His sister was made minister. I mean, look.
But he wasn't the appointing authority.
Are you telling me that the vice president did not bring anybody for nomination as minister?
Was he the appointing authority?
If he had a problem with it, he would have spoken out. So why you asked me a direct question? Did I ever speak out? Yes, I did. For example, when President Mahama came to do the State of the Nation's address, I was communication specialist at the president at the time. I sat on Asempa with the late Kaba of blessed memory and called out ministers of state who attended that State of the Nation's address in V8. Because President Mahama at the time, in 2015, that was just when we were about to go into the IMF program, had announced the fact that to cut down on fuel expenditure within the city, government ministers and appointees must use saloon cars. President Mahama, it's on record, even that day, coming to Parliament, came in his Toyota Avalon vehicle in a convoy of saloon cars. I spoke out about it. For me, I'm one person who speaks to my convictions. I would not support something I don't believe in, and I'll criticize something that I don't agree with. I won't come and defend it. But listen, I was just an appointee in the presidency. Bawumia is not just an appointee. He was touted as the economic whiz kid. His wife told us that her husband was the best thing when it came to the economy. Nanado himself, on the platform, told us that the reason why he picked Bawumia ahead of every other person in the NPP who were more qualified is simply because Bawumia knew how to deal with the economic mess. Nanado told us this. So if today we are in an economic mess, and the person who was sold to us as the savior of our economic mess now has run away from the economy and is selling mobile phones 1 cedi, 2 cedi, you think that we don't have a basis of calling him out for his failings and saying that he can't be trusted and that his words hold no significant value when it comes to integrity? So, look, let's be clear on one thing. Let's be very clear on one thing. And I just want to state it emphatically. Under the next NDC administration, God willing, from the 7th of January, there's going to be jobs for all. Because we're going to run the 24-hour economy, which has been simplified as 1-3-3. You see, today, there's the Sam George formula, 0-1-0, which is the formula of the streets, where most of your cameramen who are sitting here, if you ask them, none of them has eaten this morning. They are waiting for 1 o'clock to go and eat gobe and use that as a foundation and drink water for the rest of the day because of the state of the economy. But thankfully, under John Mahama, that formula is going to change to 1-3-3. 1 job, 3 shifts, 3 people. And that is going to put a lot of our young people who do not have a job today back into the workforce. We're going to set up the Women's Development Bank. That's going to give non-collateralized loans to our women. And you see, people say, oh, what difference can it make? ABSA today is running non-collateralized loan facilities or loan facilities for our market women at lower than bank interest. Why? Because there's private capital from the Mastercard Foundation backing it. Now, imagine when the weight of government is put behind such an initiative. The kinds of funding you can attract to support our women. Because our women are really the drivers of our economy. When it comes to the SME space, the women are the ones who drive the economy in that space. But the women don't have the commanding levers of the economy of our country, and we need to empower them. The National Apprenticeship Program, we put 1 million people in training and set them up, young people with skills that they will be self-earning and entrepreneurial on their own. A GHOne program will put again over 100,000 young people back to work. And this is something that came from my committee, and I'm very proud of. The Digital Jobs Initiative. It's a bold $3 billion. And I'm excited. When I saw it in the manifesto and when it was approved by His Excellency, I said to him, I walked up to him and said, Your Excellency, thank you. Thank you for believing in the young people of our country. I'm a young man myself. And that's what drove my committee to come up with this policy, the Digital Jobs Initiative, where we're going to put 300,000 young Ghanaians in partnership with the private sector under a $3 billion project over 4 years to work again in our country. We're going to do this using the 1 million coders program. We're going to do this using the regional digital centers, which we're going to do. We set up the Accra Digital Center in conjunction with the Rockefeller Foundation. Look, the Rockefeller Foundation gave us $10 million. Omani Boama, Honorable, was the minister at the time. $10 million. We set up the Accra Digital Center. The Accra Digital Center is employing over 10,000 people. Simple, $10 million. Meanwhile, they've used $58 million to build a hole. If we had that $58 million, with $2 million in addition, we would have built 6 more regional ICT centers. That would have been at least another 60,000 young Ghanaians put to work. We're going to have the $50 million FinTech Growth Fund, which is Ghana's own commitment. And I can assure you that we're going to attract funding from multilaterals to boost that FinTech ecosystem fund to even in excess of $200 million to make sure that our fintech regulatory space is going to work. The zonal ICT parks for me are a game changer. So you know what the zonal ICT parks are going to do for young people in our country? Look, you know that today, and Bobo does travel just like myself. If you were, but I know that we try to be very responsible when we travel, so we won't drive and get speeding tickets. But if you were to get a speeding ticket in New York, the New York Police Department issues speeding tickets through its officers on the streets. You know that when the officer punches his device in New York, the back end is processed here in Ghana, thanks to a company that is working from our business process outsourcing that John Mahama built. That's what we are doing. And that's what we're going to do to make Ghana the ICT hub for Africa in artificial intelligence, large language model learning, large language learning models. We're going to do the same in data forensics, cybersecurity, and data protection.
Okay.
Look,
Ghana
your time is up, being set back to work again under the GHOne project. And the last one is the Agri for Jobs. Agri for Jobs.
Okay, quickly, because I have a question on your 24-hour economy.
It's critical. Because Agri for Jobs is going to make us feed our country again.
Okay.
We're going to feed Ghana again.
Okay.
And you're going to have our schools start that process that we had previously. And when Bobo went to school, yeah? In Fansipim, right?
I went to Adesadel.
At this school. You had school farms. Mm-hmm. The school farms took care of a large chunk of the school students' needs.
No.
It did.
That's zero.
It did.
It was for great practicals.
But at the end of the day,
for your school.
It was our great practicals that we used to use our school
Many
farm
people
for.
who went to school know that the school farms took care of the
So
school.
that's what
What
you're
school did you
bringing
attend?
back.
It's one of
Did
the
you have
things-
a school farm there that was feeding the school?
Is that what you're bringing
for me,
back?
I didn't
And
go
you
to school in
cite
Ghana.
it as an example.
Unfortunately for me, I didn't go to
Which
school
school
in
do
Ghana.
you know that?
But I know
I know of a fancy people,
You understand
Augustus,
me?
but none of them had farms that were
Is that all
feeding the
what
school.
you're bringing back?
It's one
It's
of
one
the
of the
things we're
things.
doing to make sure that we
Okay.
deal with the poor. You know, as children in free under the free SHS today, the food they get is worse than what our prisoners get. Go and look at the quality. Kobiche, you know him.
Yes.
Kobiche has put out
The food they get
videos.
is worse than what the prisoners get.
I'm telling you, go and look at the quality of food that they are giving. We need to make sure that our schools become self-sufficient. We
Okay.
need to make sure that the buffer stock company is no longer using third parties to buy food from our farmers
All right.
and creating a room for great loot and share. Because look, and I'll give you a typical example. Alfred Mahama. Alfred Mahama is the brother of President Mahama. He's a farmer. Alfred Mahama has a maize farm. When they produced their maize, he said, look, I'm a patriot. I don't want to sell it on the market. I want to sell to buffer stock, even though buffer stock will offer me less. than what the open market will offer me. He went to buffer stock and said, take the maize at a cheaper price. Buffer stock said to him, we won't buy from you, but go and talk to this middleman. We buy from this middleman. The middleman has no farm. Go and sell to the middleman. The middleman will add his margin and buffer stock will buy from him. What criminal enterprise are we running?
Okay, I want us to go back to the 24-hour economy, and because you have brought in job creation,
I've mentioned who it is. There are matters of fact.
I'll come to you very shortly, Honorable Mercer. You've seen the statistics when it comes to unemployment. The Ghana Statistical Service is pecking it at 14.7%. And on this 24-hour economy that you talk so much about, what are the timelines that John Mahama is proposing for the implementation of the 24-hour economy?
Well, it's one of the things that in our 90 days we say the framework for that is going to be set up.
So when
it's going to be run from the office of the president. And President Mahama is actually going to chair an accelerated export development council because of the 24-hour economy. So we're confident that within the first 120 days, the policy framework will be launched.
So not the program itself.
The program, once the policy framework is launched and the secretariat is set up, within 120 days in his office, the program kicks off. So within 120 days, you will see the program kick off with the incentives and all of that. And in April of 2025, we're going to be presenting our first budget, the first budget of President Mahama in April 2025. And when we presented the policy framework, the spending lines, the incentives to all the businesses and industries are going to be spelled out in there. But in 120 days, but we have the policy, the blueprint is ready.
Because this 24-hour economy has to be built on a foundation of improved security, transportation, and all that. Will we be able to do all of that within the 120 days that you talk about?
The framework exists already. You already have vehicles in the pool, vehicles that go to bed, or that are pulled off our roads immediately. It's 9 p.m., 10 p.m. The station's closed. Why? Because, like you said, there is no security. We do not have a shortage of security personnel at this point in time, even though we admit that under the 24-hour policy, we'll need to augment the numbers. And so definitely we'll do fresh recruitments into the security services to augment the numbers. But currently you have officers who are not, the police service is not running fully as a 24/7 facility, because there are officers who do not run the shift system. They all go 8 to 5. You go there are places you go, and at 5 o'clock they tell you that the crime officer is no longer there, he's closed. But if you began to run your 1-3-3 within the police service and make sure that you increase the visibility, and that's not taking anything away from police visibility that we see today, but if we did an augmentation of the current existing police visibility with new recruitment, you'll see those numbers increase. And once the factories begin to produce, and you see, Serwaa, for example, how do you get a factory that closes at 5 o'clock but has the capacity to run 24 hours to produce? It's simply by the budget saying that right now we're giving you off-peak tariffs. And that's a government decision. And that's something that we can do in 120 days, and we will do in 120 days to make sure that once we determine what the off-peak tariff is, because currently when that factory shuts down and the country goes to sleep, power is still being generated. We still pay the IPPs for the power that's generated, even though nobody is consuming it. So if we have a win-win situation where right now they have off-peak power prices, tariffs, that could be a fraction of what the peak hour prices are for their production, then you begin to get some revenue for government to offset that. They increase their production. And then that's why you have to have the Exports Development Council chaired by the president himself, because expanded and improved production is not only going to be for the local market, but for export. Because that's the only way you can do, you can settle your balance of trade in such a way that it's favorable to Ghana.
Okay. Honorable Mercer.
So this 24-hour economy, interestingly, I'm told that some trade policy document that then Minister for Trade, I believe, Hannah Tete, was championing, had that policy embedded in there somewhere. Mr. Mahama has been in opposition for 8 years, and they are now telling us that when they come into government, within the first 120 days, they're now going to provide the policy framework. Isn't it interesting?
That's not what I said.
That they're waiting to come into government before they they do the policy framework. I thought that.
Oh no.
But what did you say? What did you
That's
say?
not what I said. That's
What
not
did
what I
you
said
say?
relative to that.
Oh no, I'm happy to give you an opportunity to repeat what you said.
Okay. So I said within the first 120 days, we're going to commence that. We're going to have the framework put out, the secretariat to be set up under the office of the president. In the first 120 days, I said the secretariat to be set up under the office of the president,
Yes.
and that there's the blueprint already, and that's going to go out. Then what you then need to do is, I said, in the budget, the first budget, that's when I made reference to our first budget in April 2025. I said all the legal framework that is needed would have been completed by April 2025 when we do our budget.
So in 120 days, the program
Yes.
will kickstart.
Yes.
That's what he said. Okay.
I see. Interesting.
In fact, if you read President Mahama's 120, let me read what President Mahama's social contract says.
It's okay.
Don't
It's
worry,
okay.
we have
Commence
it.
drafting
We have it
the
here.
needed
Don't worry, I'll read it
legal
for you, Sam
amendments
George.
and
Don't worry.
prepare.
Don't worry. Yes.
We hear you.
It's actually will pop up on the screen very shortly. Please go on.
So let's use TV.
That's point 7.
GHOne as an example. Or they are not part of the 24-hour one.
Not all industries are 24-hour compliant.
But the industries that are 24-hour compliant, they are already operating.
What industries?
Manufacturing,
Which manufacturing companies?
entertainment.
Are 24 hours?
You say many. Go to
manufacturing?
Tema. Many manufacturing companies operate
ones?
24 hours.
Which ones?
Many. Nestle. Go to Tema now. I used to live in Committee 8. Go to Tema now. Go to the industrial area. He lives close there. They are operating. You go to Osu Entertainment. They are there. Hotels. They are operating. It's interesting they moved away from the rearing of lions and chimpanzees now they're going to develop a framework for us. We'll see how the 133 works. Passport office, licensing, or they are not part of it anymore.
Sam,
It's a joke.
is it part? Is the licensing office?
I'll just give you all the areas. There are 12 of them. I spelled them out. There are 12. If you want me to, I can.
Please, yeah.
Agro-processing, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, construction, the financial services, extractive industries, sanitation and waste management, hospitality, retail centers, transportation services, health services, and security services.
Okay, but some of these sectors that you've already mentioned are already operating the
Go to
24
the
hours.
mines.
Hospitality.
Go to the mines.
They are
Extractive
operating,
industries.
right?
So you see when we-
Pharmaceuticals. A lot of them.
Go there. Go to the
some
factories.
of them are doing the 24-hour. No,
Serwaa.
you let him
Yes,
finish.
let me finish
Yes.
that.
Hoodwinking and tricking Ghanaians like you did in 2008 is not going to work.
But
It's not
Ghanaians
going to
say you
work.
tricked us too.
Oh, how have we tricked you? I have given you the basis of our economic challenges. Some matters of fact. Serwaa, the basis of our economic challenges are there in black and white. Nobody can run away from them. But look at the policies that we rolled out and our accomplishments in the midst of all those challenges. The list is so long. Created 2.3 million jobs since 2017.
Phantom jobs.
Kept public sector workers employed and fully paid, even during COVID-19. You people worked for 3 years. You paid them 3 months. We've initiated and overseen the construction and rehabilitation of more railway than any government since 1992. We have extended more rural telephone network than any government since 1992. Increased it from 78 sites to 1,008 sites. We have constructed more public libraries than any government since 1992. We have increased the total number of public libraries from 61 in 2017 to 115 by 2023. Fish landing sites that have been constructed, more than any government, in Axim, Dixcove, Mori, Manford, Winneba, Senyebreku, Gomoafete, Teshi, Osu, Ekunfi, and Infantiman. The fishing harbor that Mr. Mahama told the people of Elmina that it was 419. It's been done. Jamestown, fishing harbor, Done. We have constructed more. Say what? The list is so long. So long. And he says that when they left government, and he mentions car power. You see, two components of the energy sector. Okay? The gas side and then the generation side. So why car power had to be maintained was because your government has signed a take or pay for the gas on ENI. So why you are listening?
Yes.
Take or pay. Such that in the first year and a half or so, ENI was actually re-injecting the gas into the ground and we're paying for it. You heard me. So it was important for us to find a vehicle to consume the gas which we were paying for without consuming. So that's why car power had to be relocated from Tema to Takrady, and government contracted the bigger vessel as opposed to the smaller one that had come. That's all. But this doesn't take away the fact that you had excess capacity that you were paying. Because you need to balance that you have all these power plants that you've contracted already, that you will pay for whether you use them or not. And so if you had other non-thermal assets, you had to sacrifice their output for those thermal assets. That's all. You see, we sat in this country, Maslock was set up for a reason. To support these very women, traders. You remember Sedina, what's her name? What's her surname?
Tamaklo.
What did she do when Mr. Mahama was president at Maslock? But as usual, they think we have short memories, so we've forgotten. What did they do with Maslock? They turn around. And so this time around, Maslock, when I mentioned it, people would suspect me that Sedina is going to come and do the same things as Women's Development Bank. But I know that a good people of this country know Mr. Mahama. He's had the opportunity to govern as president. It cannot be the case that all of a sudden he has all this new vision that he could not implement when he was president. That today he's reshaped it. Look.
But could he have implemented everything?
Coming. Oh, he couldn't have.
Exactly.
So why is it that they say that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia cannot have a vision of his own? Why? He's not been president before. He's vice president to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Yet
he's
they tell us,
member of the
I
government.
don't have a difficulty. Mr. Mahama was president. And he had, in fact, whilst he was campaigning in 2016, he had plans for the future. Because he had a manifesto for 2017 to 2020. Yet Dr. Bawumia cannot have a vision of his own. He cannot have a plan of his own. Because he is vice president today. What kind of logic is that? Serwaa? How does that even work? Look, the vision that he has articulated in our manifesto is clear, sound, well thought through, logical, 14-point plan to resuscitate our economy and put it back on its footing like we were before. It's clear and it's resonating with the people of this country.
On job creation.
Please.
Since you talked about that, how many jobs really has the NPP created?
I have the data.
So what is the
both
figure?
From the private and public. It's 2.3 million.
Okay. No, so I have a report by the Ghana Statistical Service, which pegs unemployment rate at 14.7%. Now, Mercer, I mean, if you've created 2.3 million jobs, how is it that unemployment has moved from 8.4 in 2016 to now 14.7%?
You see, of course, the population has grown. And so I do not question the data that the Ghana Statistical Service has put out. But the population has grown. And even though you've created more jobs, there's a need for more jobs to be created. That's why the vice president outlined in his vision that these are accomplishments in terms of job creation. But we still need to do more because the population is growing. Young people are coming up who are not getting jobs. And so these are the opportunities that he intends to create through the digital space that he has championed in the past 4 years as president. He says he's going to train 1 million people in digital skills, create jobs through private sector construction,
and that's what they say,
infrastructure
that you stole
development.
their idea.
Stole idea from who?
The digital jobs.
How Dr. Bawumia has been the champion of digitalization. In fact, they accuse him of abandoning economy and focusing on digitalization. Serwaa?
Yes.
They accuse him of. Yet he cannot speak on creating a digital economy that then creates digital jobs for our young people. And if by coincidence that vision coincides with theirs, how can they accuse us of stealing their or plagiarizing their vision?
Okay, let's still stay on the job creation, right? You say you've created 2.3 million jobs. Do you have the data on what number it comes with for the private sector and the public sector?
975,000 jobs in the private sector.
And in the public sector?
The rest. My math is not too good, but I'll pull it up for you. I have the data here.
Because I have your while you do that, I have your 2020 manifesto here, right? And you said in 2020 that in 3.5 years that you have been in office, you have established the economy, you have eliminated and reduced the number of taxes, you have reduced the overall tax burden, you have doubled growth, and you have created over 2 million jobs in the public and formal sectors. So in 2020, at the time, you had created over 2 million jobs. So 4 years down the line, we have 2.3 million jobs. So how many jobs have you created from between 2020 and 2024?
So, unfortunately, the way the data is calibrated, I can't give you the total for 2020. Okay. Because what I have...
The total for 2020 is captured in your manifesto.
No, I get it. But of course, then I would have given you... Yeah, so what it then means is that the additional jobs that have been created is about 300,000.
Between, in 4 years.
But of course, Serwaa, between 2020 and today, we all know the challenges that we've gone through as a country. We all know. It is now that our economy has begun a rebound.
Okay.
That we are seeing stability in our economic data. That we are seeing improvement, that we're beginning to see growth. In 2011, 2012, our GDP growth rate was less than 3%. But today, first quarter 2024, we've seen a 4.2% growth in GDP. So our economy is rebounding. The challenges we all recognize.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sam, I'll give you the chance to rebut, and then we will get into the yesterday's Meet the Press very quickly before we wrap up the entire conversation.
So,
yes.
You know, you've done some pretty fantastic journalism this morning with what you just did. And I saw how we were struggling. Because it just shows you the dishonesty of the NPP. And I think it will serve my brother to run away from that so that he doesn't tarnish his reputation. Look, the NPP, and because you caught him off guard, he didn't realize that they had lied in 2020 that they had created over 2 million jobs. So when he was waxing lyrical about 2.3 million jobs, he thought he was coasting to Havana, not knowing that he was coasting nowhere. Listen, Bobo, your 2.3 million jobs or 2 million jobs is a lie. It's a blatant, disgraceful lie. When Bawumia and Egyapa Mercer tell you that they've created 2.3 million jobs, tell them, me, Sam George, I said they are liars and dishonest people. If they go on that tangent. Serwaa, if they have created 2.3 million jobs, we must have a job surplus in Ghana. The Ghana Statistical Service that you quoted says that we have an unemployment rate of 14.7 and puts the number at 1.3 million Ghanaians. 1.3 million. So if you've created 2.3 million, we must have gone to Togo Burkina,
But
and ask them.
What kind of
Mr.
logic?
Mr. I beg
What kind
you.
of
When
logic are
you
you
were
putting
speaking,
across?
I was quiet, my brother. I beg you.
Please allow
Bobo.
him to land.
I say, me put your eye. If they have created 2.3 million, SNIT has a total active participation of 1.8 million. 1.8 million. So where are the jobs? Because your 2.3 million, in your document, you reference SNIT as a source of your information. Meanwhile, SNIT has only 1.8 million active subscribers. The Ghana Statistical Service says we have 1.3 million unemployed young people. But you've created 2.3 million. If you are not lying, then you are delusional. It's one of the two. It's either they are looking into the camera, looking into the faces of Ghanaians and lying to us. The young people of this country will not take those lies again, Bobo. Look, me, I'm a young man. Oh. Today, thankfully, I have a job. But many young people like me and you don't have a job. You promised them jobs. You haven't given them the jobs. Then now you claim you've created the jobs. How dishonest can you be? Why? You talk about, and when you talk about it, they want to tell you that you don't know what you are talking about. Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs that you've created? So, in 2016, when we're leaving office, are you telling me to wrap up?
I'm just signaling you.
No, you can't. Bobo went on for at least 17 minutes. I demand same. I beg you.
Go ahead.
In 2016, the minimum wage in Ghana was 8 cedis at the time, equivalent to $2.02. Today, the minimum wage is equivalent to $1.72. So in 8 years, you have taken the Ghanaian worker and taken money out of their pocket. From $2.02, now we are $1.78. That's your record. That is your track record. Serwaa, look, for me, I think that the youths of our country, the streets know whether the NPP have provided them the jobs. The streets know whether the NPP have provided the rent that they promised the young people. You tell me Dr. Bawumia should be trusted. Was it not Dr. Bawumia who went and promised $1 million per constituency? Bobo, you are a member of parliament for Second D. I am the member of parliament for Ningo Pram Pram. I have not received a peswa. I am owed $7 million. $7 million by Dr. Bawumia. He made that promise. The people of Ningo Pram Pram deserve their $7 million, and this year we must get the additional $1 million to make it $8 million. Second D for Etema. Your MP is here. Maybe me, I am opposition, so they don't like me. But he's one of their own. They made him deputy minister, made him minister. Besan is there. $7 million no away. Because it's either Bawumia lied, and so because he's a liar, we can't trust him with anything he tells or promises today, or he actually delivered to Bobo, and Bobo has not brought it home.
But we are being told that that money has been used for certain projects, and it's good you're
They
here. So
just leave him to
he will answer that. Don't
Serwaa.
worry, he will answer that.
Serwaa.
Yes.
Them
One constituency, one ambulance.
Project tracker now. Track no. Listen, on that tracker project.
Would you be kind enough to have him answer that question?
And then I come back.
Yes,
okay,
and then
fine.
you come back.
Fine.
On
I
the
want
issue
him to
of
answer.
the one constituency,
Yes.
$1 million.
So it's surprising. Why did the promise indicate that they were going to give you the money?
Sam, was the promise to give you cash?
Yes, they said they will give every constituency $1 million. The MPs will use it.
Did they say they'll give you cash?
some
Bawumia said they will give it to the MPs.
Serwaa, what was the purpose of the development corporations?
But what was the promise?
Now I'm coming. What was the purpose of the? But of course, it was a
I
development
thought he was just
corporation.
going to list the projects that they've done.
It was a development
Don't list the whole
corporations.
country. Second D. No, then if he's going to do this, let me
Don't
continue.
worry. So
because
you
he
want
should
to
tell you
answer
the
that, or
$7
you want
million
to finish?
It was
what
the
they've done in
development
Second D.
corporations that rolled out those programs.
So you didn't give the monies to the members of parliament. You gave it to the development corporation.
But
So then we should see the 7 million in
who said
second
we're going to give
D.
it to
Tell
them?
us the $7 million in second D, what it has done.
So what
in
are
your
some of the
constituency.
projects that they use the monies for?
Several.
Like
The community centers have been built, toilet facilities, the ambulances that were procured. Because
So the
the
one
purpose,
constituency, one
wait,
ambulance is
see,
from
they
that
built
community.
toilets with $7 million in
see,
second D.
you can rubbish this.
It's not
all
rubbish
you
because Serwaa, you know,
want. But
in
the point,
Finish
he
quickly.
should
so
the
that-
project. He's going round and round in circles.
The point is that
Oh.
that whole rationale was to ensure that there was local level development as opposed to development emanating from the center.
So every constituency
And
received $1
I'm not sure
million.
they received $1 million per year. Okay.
So then you failed on that promise.
But some funds were certainly
So then-
disbursed
Serwaa.
through the Coastal Development Authority, the Middle Belt Development.
All right, thank
and the
you.
Mountain
Let me
Development
come back to
Authority
him because it's
to make
it's-
sure
he's on the
warehouses
floor.
were
Bobo.
built,
Thank you.
dams,
You hold
and
on.
all that were funded
Thank you.
through the $1 million per
Bobo has
constituency
just
policy.
established for us that Dr. Bawumia is not to be trusted. He's a liar.
Can you imagine?
Because he promised that every constituency will get 1 million. I said it's two things.
But he has told you that they
Oh,
used it
Serwaa,
for
let me
projects.
land. It's two things. It's either he lied and failed to deliver the promise, or they delivered the promise and Bobo and his people have chopped the
You
money.
see, it's surprising to me how
You know why?
you are
You know
towing
why?
the line of this
You
your
know
foot
why?
soldiers
Very
in
simple.
using this
Ningo
language
pram pram.
on
When you go on the
ourselves.
tracker, the government projects under 1 million per constituency are 3. 2 of them are 12-seater toilets, and 1 is a 6-seater toilet. So you are telling me, and that's why as soon as you ask Bobo, all he could tell you was they built toilet for $7 million. Why? The toilet, when you flush, is the blood of Jesus that comes to clean the water closet, or what is it? What kind of toilet have you built for 7 million? You tell me, and that's what I'm saying, Bobo. I'm not asking you any other constituency, but we gave you
were
the
a member
opportunity.
of the Public Accounts
You
Committee.
could not.
Sewa.
Because
Serwaa.
no, I can.
You
as a
Please
public
let
account.
you let
No,
him finish. I'll give you. I'll let you
it's pathetic
respond.
how we do our
Let him
politics
finish.
this way, you know. You
Honorable
are a member of the
Mercer,
Public
please let
Accounts
him, let
Committee.
him finish.
Serwaa,
You.
as a member of the Public Accounts Committee, I can scrutinize monies that have been disbursed. But if Bawumia lied about it and did not disburse the $1 million, how can the Auditor General go and audit money that did not give? Listen,
But Sam,
the
you know
MPP
that you are in
gave audio
Parliament.
money. Listen, the MPP,
But
all
Sam-
their promises are audio. It's sound bites.
Okay,
the
but you
money,
are-
the money is audio money. It's
Okay.
like Sakawa.
But you are in
where
Parliament.
the money they tell you to
The-
come. They've given you a box. They take your money. They give you a box. Sikagari. They've given you the box. They tell you go and put it under your bed for 24 hours. Then or put it under your bed. Don't touch it for 7 days. Don't bath for 7
Okay.
days. When you open, you will see dollars.
Okay,
you go and
but
open his
Sam,
paper.
hold
How
on.
do we audit it?
Sam,
Bobo, I
Sam
say
George.
second D. I say you cannot show me projects worth even $1 million in your constituency.
Sam George, hold on. But the 1 million per constituency
Yes.
has not been in the budget since 2017. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. You're in Parliament. So it means that the government abandoned it. So it cannot be up to 7
So it means Bawumia
million.
is a liar. He promised it. You just spoke about manifestos. It was not
So-
Nanado who promised it.
So-
Nanado did not promise $1 million per constituency. Nanado, look, I may not like President Nanado's governance style. I may not like anything about his politics, but I will not accuse him of something he's not responsible for. Nanado did not promise Ghanaians $1 million per constituency. Nanado did not promise Ghanaians 1 village, 1 dam. It was Mahmoud Bawumia. He is the one who promised it. And I'm saying to you that, Serwaa, look, our politics must go to the place where we hold people accountable for the promises that they make. And when they fail to make it, we must call them out. And I'm saying that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is a liar.
Okay.
Because he lied to the Ghanaian people. He lied to the young people of the country. And why did I go and bring this one constituency, $1 million? It's because of the question on jobs. Because the streets are listening to us. The young people of our country are listening. Dr. Bawumia promised them jobs.
All
He
right.
promised them jobs, and now he has failed. He lied about providing them jobs. He didn't provide them the jobs, and now he's lying again that he's created 2.3 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Where are the 2.3 million jobs?
Okay,
Serwaa.
please respond quickly so
Serwaa,
that we
the-
end this
Serwaa,
thing.
How can you be cutting me?
Oh, but Sam,
the
I'm
next
giving
time,
you
the
enough
next
time.
No, you forgot
I'm
that you
giving you
took
time.
almost part of my time I
You-
gave to him.
You started this conversation, remember?
Oh.
Sewa, the
Quickly.
I think the
please.
next time I'm on the show, once you start the time, I
You
will announce the
tell
time.
time
I will
to
announce
the
the time to the
viewers.
viewers that he started at this time, so that everybody will see whether I'm lying or not. Because me, I can't be like Bawumia.
Please, quickly.
The use of words, somebody is a liar, is that. I always advise you. You can leave it to your.
Advise Bawumia to be truthful. Advise Bawumia to be a man of integrity.
Certainly.
Advise Bawumia.
Certainly, if we assess Mr. Mahama's promises that he made in 2012.
We are not talking about Mahama's promises. We are talking about 1 million one constituency.
Because
tell the people of
Will you allow him to finish?
You should tell the people of Sekendi what he's done with the $7 million. Because he says Bawumia is not a liar.
That $7 million doesn't exist.
Who has admitted?
I said it and you said yes, so it means that...
No, he must admit it. He's the one sitting here and saying that Bawumia should be trusted. He's the one who said Bawumia has created 2.3 million.
Okay, let him land.
You can use all sorts of words.
I'm not using words, I'm speaking facts.
But
that Bawumia lied.
The point of the matter is that in 2012, you made commitments in your manifesto to the people of Ghana. You achieved less than 50% of your commitments.
They voted NDC out and voted for Bawumia. Because they voted for Bawumia because he promised that every constituency will get $1 million.
The thing that I did that you were complaining, you are doing the same thing.
You small. I just want to make you see how we did like.
Okay. So I mean, I don't
football.
So by parity of reason, Mr. Mahama is a liar because he did not meet his commitments to the people of Ghana that he made.
Let's go and ask Google who is a liar. Bahama or Bawumia. Let's go and ask Google.
Of course, I mean, Joy FM has exposed you that the 18 or so accounts that you created to use hashtag to do Dr. Bawumia is a liar. You've been exposed.
Exposed on what?
You see, I agree that as political parties, we may have a certain vision that would sell. Several factors would impact your ability to deliver on all of them. And the data speaks to it. Because you have not met all your campaign commitments. In 2009, you did not meet them by 2012. It's there in Manifesto. Assessed you. In 2012, 2016, you did not meet all your Manifesto commitments. Nobody has described you a liar. And so if Dr. Bawumia hasn't met some of the MPP's Manifesto promises that was made under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and you describe him as a liar, Mr. Mahama gave our bauxite deposits to his brother on the 29th of December 2016. What was he?
Mahama gave it to his brother.
Absolutely. Extin Cubic.
The same way Bawumia has been giving sole source contracts to his brothers.
Do you have evidence of that?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
bring it. Cocoa Roads. They gave sole source cocoa roads to Bawumia's brother. They can't deny it.
I always
sole source cocoa roads were given to Bawumia's brother.
We have people who feel disoriented about our politics because of the kinds of things that we do and say. You can debate the issues that we met so much percent of our commitments. Some we haven't met.
Right.
But describing people as liars when you have the same thing.
Because some really...
You call the kettle black?
Nana Addo did promise the one constituency $1 million.
It's unbelievable.
On many campaign trails.
Bawumia outdoored it and Nana Addo
It doesn't matter.
But
it was in our manifesto.
Bawumia promised one
it has
village,
not been implemented fully because of the economic challenges that we had.
Okay.
And so it had to be reviewed. In fact, the development authorities, the ministry that was set up in itself was collapsed and put under a secretariat. What does it tell you? That they were scaling down. Because we realize that our finances are not in a situation where government can continue that commitment. You can critique it, no issues. But to call people liars and all that, I don't know where that kind of language is coming from.
You know why?
You think that's what's going to influence Ghanaians?
You know why? Serwaa, you know why we will press Bawumia? Bawumia in a press engagement told the people that they should go to Accra and go and ask their MPs that the money is there in Cape Coast. Bawumia went to Cape Coast. You remember? He told the people that the money... during the 2020 campaign, Bawumia went to Cape Coast and told the people that the $1 million per constituency, the money is ready and that the money is in Accra. So they should go to Accra and go and meet their MPs and make sure that they don't spend the money in Accra. But that's what Bawumia said.
He couldn't have
and
said
that's why I'm saying that. And that's why I'm saying that.
Because the money was never given to MPs. It was given to what Bawumia said.
That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. Did the promise say we're giving MPs or they said $1 million one constituency?
The promise said $1 million per constituency.
Did they say that they will give to MPs?
I'm telling you, Bawumia in Cape Coast met party people and at a
It's
rally
unbelievable.
said to them that the money is ready.
Party
they
people at a rally.
I'm going to pull the story.
Pull
Yeah,
it.
pull
Pull
it.
it. Pull
Okay,
it.
pull it. While he's
You
at
see,
it,
the job
whilst
numbers.
he's at it.
The job numbers.
Do you really want to go back to the job
No,
numbers?
but they are matters of fact.
Let's go back to it then.
Okay?
Okay.
In the security service, a lot of people have been recruited.
You mean between
Sector by
2020
sector.
and
Ah,
2024?
2017.
No, but we've
and
established
2024.
that in your 2020 manifesto. You mentioned that over 2 million jobs have been created. We established that. If you want to go back to it, then you're going to speak
but
to...
the numbers that Dr. Baumia gave figures from 2017 to date.
But then
He
there's
didn't say from
inconsistency.
2020 to date.
But
He
I
says
have
from
just told
2017.
you- I have just told you that in your 2020 manifesto, you said that over 2 million jobs have been created, meaning between 2020 and 2024,
It
you've
doesn't
created
matter.
about
It
300.
matter.
But in
As
the
at
data,
as at 2020,
In the
he was
data-
reporting a certain figure.
in the
As
data,
at 2024, he's reporting a certain figure. There's no inconsistency whatsoever.
there is
How is it so?
because in the data that you make reference to on the jobs that have been created, you know, from 2021 onwards, the figure that you have is more than 300,000 in terms of job creation. Because if you have that data, and I'm so sure that you do, the private sector alone, you said, created about 310,000 jobs, and the public created about 500,000 jobs. That is clearly beyond 300,000, and that's close to around 800,000 jobs, and that does not add up to the data that you have in terms of creating.
I don't understand where you are pulling your figures from. I have data here that is from 2017 to 2020.
2022.
2020. 2022, yes.
Yes. And if you go to the section of 2021,
Yes.
it shows you that over 300,000 jobs were created, and that is for the private sector alone.
Yes.
And you said that between 2020,
No, it's not private sector alone. It's a total of 123 and 258. If it's the same data that you are holding. The public sector total, subtotal of 258. And then the private sector of 123. Totaling
So I have the story.
382.
hold on to it. Let's finish with this one. Okay. So in total, you've created, you say that you have created over 300,000 jobs.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay.
So there's no inconsistency at all.
Please make your point. Don't worry.
Oh, no,
I'm
finish.
doing my
It's
fact
finished.
checking.
So let me read the story to you. NPP will provide $1 million.
Let me see it, if you may. And I will read it for my viewers for the
Yes,
benefit
so you
of...
can take it, and in fact, let me pause. There's even the video, but read the story. It's from the campaign launch.
Yes, so NPP will provide $1 million for constituency development.
Now scroll down.
And
The story is there.
okay, the vice presidential candidate has restated that an NPP government will offer $1 million every year to the various constituencies for infrastructural development. The vice presidential candidate said this is non-negotiable and will be delivered when the party takes over the reins of government in 2017. According to him, they will ensure the rural areas are considered in these developments. And he says, I quote, "We are going to change this economy. We are bringing a new economy that is going to create jobs for everybody, create jobs for everybody, an industrialization program that is going to make one district, one factory. We're going to make sure that the rural areas are considered in the development, and we're going to
Next
include
slide.
every rural area, and we are not going to leave money for the development budget for them to steal it here in Accra. Every constituency...
Please read that place again.
We are going to include every rural area, and we are not going to leave money for the development budget for them to steal here in Accra. Every constituency from 2017 budget will get $1 million for development. Every constituency, every year, 40 billion old Ghana cedis. Then we'll see developments in the country. But why did they say that they will give the monies to the MPs?
Serwaa?
It's not in it.
Serwaa?
Yes.
What you just read.
Yes.
$1 million, every constituency, every year. The money is in Accra. We are not going to let them sit in Accra and steal it. If the money has not gone, then someone has stolen the money in Accra. And the person responsible for the purse is Bawumia and Ken Ofori-Atta, heads of the economic management team. So they've stolen the money. I'm not saying it.
But it doesn't mention, though, that the money should be given to members of parliament. Let's just be clear.
Bring the story to back it up.
Who runs constituencies?
You are reading something else.
Constituencies are run by who?
You've been exposed.
Who's been
by your own story? You said that the man said that the money is with the MPs.
Look, when you become an MPP person, what happens to you? Listen,
you made an assertion.
My assertion was
it's
clear.
Unfortunate you can't play back all these things.
As an MPP person,
you said Dr. Bawumia said it in Cape Coast.
Yes.
MPP rally.
He was speaking. Yes,
that the money is with the MPs.
Serwaa,
please, one at a time, quickly.
But it says that he was speaking at the manifesto launch. Is there in Cape Coast? Where did you launch the manifesto?
I've seen it, but it doesn't state that the money should be given to the MPs.
Serwaa,
yes.
I said that the money will come to a constituency, and the constituency is run by who? MPs.
But when you
constituencies are not run by DCs. Districts are run by DCs, because there are districts that have 2 constituencies. Okay. So it is not a district promise. Okay. The district is not run by an assemblyman. The district is run by an MP. And who sits in Accra? DCs don't sit in Accra. The CEO of Coastal Development Authority or Middle Belt does not sit in Accra. Who sits in Accra? MPs sit in Accra. He says that they will sit in Accra and steal the money. Who was he referring to? This is common sense. And I'm saying to you that if the money has not come to us, and Bawumia said the money was there, and that if the people did not get the money in the villages, it's because they stole it in Accra. Who has stolen the money?
All right. You know what? Hold on for me. I want to read the manifesto promise on this whole $1 million constituency thing. Hold on. So in the NPP's manifesto, it said the NPP will reorient the national capital expenditure budget to place a focus on local current constituency specific needs. In this vein, an amount of the equivalent of $275 million will be reallocated from our existing capital expenditure budget to the IPEP, a bold project at providing local solutions. Let me jump to the next paragraph. Every constituency in the country will be allocated the equivalent of $1 million annually to finance capital expenditure on upgrading and improving infrastructure and or on developing new facilities, especially in rural and deprived communities. So, I mean, Sam George, if this is anything to go by, it doesn't say that the money was meant for the MPs. It said that it was meant for the development authorities, because in that same document, it said that it is envisaged as part of our core mandate that the 3 development authorities, Northern, Middle Belt and Coastal, will be the primary executing agencies under this program.
Done? I'm sure the sound
constituency
will be picked. This is Bawumia's voice.
Our deprived areas in every constituency, we are locating this year the equivalent of $1 million. Every constituency in this country, all the 275. So Cape Coast South.
And now he goes on to mention.
You should know, and this school should know, that you have in this budget, this constituency, $1 million. So if you need 100,000 of it just this year to complete your project, please let the development authority through your local assembly know. We can work with you so that these monies can be used to deal with the infrastructure in these particular areas. This is why we did it, because if you don't do it, the money will stay in Accra, they will steal it, and then we will get nothing. But if we bring the money straight to the constituency, you know exactly what you need to do with it. And $1 million is coming this year, next year, and every year.
$1 million is coming this year, next year, every year. So
that,
when you wait,
hold on,
let me make my point.
I will let you speak, but for the benefit of my viewers, I need to. So that I don't know if all of you heard it. Hopefully you did. But Sam George played a voice from a video from a campaign rally, where the vice president said that $1 million equivalent will be allocated to each constituency for a couple of years. But he said it is important to state that it didn't say that the monies were going to the MPs. It said it was going to the development authorities. So that has been established. But he did say that it was going to be given to them every year, which hasn't happened.
So, yes. So let me
so
make my
please,
case.
quickly, yes.
Good. If the money will go to the constituencies through the development authorities,
Yes.
fine. So the simple question. Second D is a coastal constituency, just like Ningo Pram Pram. So it means that $7 million has gone to the Coastal Development Authority for Ningo Pram Pram in the last 7 years. 7 million has gone for Second D. I'm saying, show us the $7 million worth of projects. Whether you gave it to me, whether you gave it to a development authority, show us the money. He said it was in the budget. So earlier on, you stated that it has not been captured in the budget.
Yes,
But
since
he
2021.
But he said, in fact, this was a 2016 promise, not 2020 promise. He said it was in the budget. The money is ready. It's in Accra. If you don't get your money, they will steal it. So if Ningo Pram Pram has not gotten $7 million worth of infrastructural projects in 7 years, let's not even count the 8th year. Who has stolen our money? Is it Bawumia or the Coastal Development Authority?
All right, please. Come in now. We have to wrap up.
I'm not so sure whether any audit finding has established anybody stealing any money that has been allocated to the development.
Bawumia is the one who said they will steal the money.
The truth of the matter is that the program intended to roll out through the IPEP, part of our development capital expenditure budget. And the thinking was that if you can allocate 1 million per constituency, then obviously it is not a matter of Accra taking decisions on what goes on in terms of our capital expenditure. Every local community, every constituency then can have, some allocations set aside so that it can aid in the development of our country. Of course, the monies were not disbursed wholly over the period. I don't know exactly what accounted for it, but what I can surmise is probably because of our finances. But some development projects were done, some cheap compounds were built in communities in Secondary, some communities, and they did a needs assessment of the various communities, and based on that, rolled out a plan on funding those needs that the communities identified. And there are projects in Secondary that certainly were developed through the Coastal Development Authority. I know that is the case in every constituency across Ghana. As to whether the intent of doing it annually is something that should have happened and it hasn't happened, we can discuss that.
Bobo, be a man and just say that Bawumia failed in the promise.
How-
he failed
how-
to deliver.
how
Why?
so?
Charlie, they can't sack you again, oh. Right now, they don't know if he sack you. Oh, Maza.
Okay, but please wrap up. I want to give you 3 minutes each to touch on the Meet the Press yesterday. So quickly, just wrap up for me on this one.
Well, I guess that it satisfied many people who were asking when the vice president was
He
going
started at 9:35.
to engage the media. And yesterday he opened himself up for people to ask him questions.
Were you impressed?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
People
Certainly.
expected something different.
I guess many people, if you listen to the commentary on social media, were impressed. But then again, you can expect our friends who unleash some, I don't know where they train them from, to insult and attack, spew venom against political opponents. I don't know where that culture is coming from, and the level of insults that you see people spew, it's really sickening. But well, that's the kind of politics that they want to play. But I guess that yesterday, the greater majority of the people of Ghana who watched and listened to the vice president were satisfied with the responses that he gave, with the explanations that he gave, with his vision that he has for Ghana, that when given the opportunity, he is also going to contribute his bit. He indicated quite clearly he has not been president before, admittedly. He has been vice president to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He's proud of the policies that he championed. He's proud of the track record of the government that he has worked with. He's proud that that government has done well, albeit the challenges that we face as a country which is global in nature. Ghana necessarily is not an island which was not affected by the events of 2020 and the geopolitics of 2022. It necessarily had an impact on us. We are rebuilding. We have gotten to some level of stability now. Our economy is beginning to grow. And when given the opportunity, he certainly would add more impetus to make sure that we build a Ghana that we all deserve to be in.
The Vice President seemed unaware of many of the things happening in the country. He wasn't aware of the NAPCO issue. He wasn't aware of the FAMD students who were threatened to sue the health ministry. He also said he wasn't aware of Ghanaians outside on scholarship and the issues that
I'm not sure that he said that he wasn't aware of the scholarships. He admitted that some parents had actually reached him on the scholarship one. Because I recall, I heard him. I think it was Samson Ladia Inini who asked that question. Okay, and he admitted, and he said that he knows some payments have been made, and that he was going to get them to see what can be done. Obviously, it's all a question of resource availability. That's what informs some delays in payment of some of these allowances. Okay. That he addressed. It was a question on some alleged cocoa board collapse.
The state of cocoa board.
They said the cocoa board was collapsing.
The verge.
how do people even arrive at that conclusion? I don't know. And certainly he won't be aware. Why would he be aware?
Okay.
No such report has been submitted to Parliament, to Cabinet on the status of cocoa board being in trouble. And so unless, of course, you expect that the Vice President would be all over the place listening to news speculation of sorts, he will speak to the official documents that come before government that then will require him to address. And so it's not a question of him not being aware. Things that play out in the public domain, some of them I don't know. I'm not sure you know everything that plays out in the public.
Okay.
And if you are asked the question and you are not aware, you will certainly admit your non-awareness and do a follow-up if it has impact on
all right, thank you. I know that Sam just checked the time.
It's 9:39, so he had 4 minutes.
He had 3 minutes.
It's 9:39, 35 to 39.
It's now starting. Please go ahead quickly.
Yesterday, I spent time playing with my kids. It was more important to me than listening to the lives of Baumia. But I'll use my 4 minutes to do something, to let you know what the next NDC government is going to do on restoring good governance and fighting corruption. Yeah. It will address it, you know, because when we launch our Operation Recover All Loot, it would investigate and prosecute and recover all the proceeds of corruption. And President Mahama is definite in his mind that he's going to set up a forensic audit into the $58 million National Cathedral scandal and seek a broad consensus on what should happen with that abandoned pit there. But the most important thing is that we are going to investigate the numerous scandals that have rocked the Akufo-Addo government. It would include the COVID-19 mismanagement and expenditures, SML, Egyapa, the MatSets, PDS scandal, SkyTrain, Palugu Dam, the appearance fees, the ambulance spare parts scandal, the illegal sole source contract scandal, the All Africa Games. We will investigate all of this. We will recover all the loot. In fact, it is called ORAL. ORAL, Operation Recover All Loot, because that father for Nkwasi Asem ye jai.
Okay.
This time, Serwaa, why?
No. 1 minute. You speak, but I have a question on that particular one because how can we trust you to do all these things? Because I recall during
you think they've hidden the money very well? Eh?
No, I'm sorry, I never said that. I'm saying that
how can we do it?
Former President Kufuor's time, there were some of these allegations, but when you took over, there was not a single successful prosecution of any appointee.
And that's exactly what is going to happen in the very unlikely event that they win power.
Father for no, Yejai. President Mahama himself said it, that he's been exorcised of that father for all. This time, the Ghanaian people are demanding that they get justice. The young people on the streets. You think the young people on the streets are happy that 40... Are you taking me off here? Producer, you don't want me to fight you. The young people of this country... Look at that. When you got your time... Master, don't
please,
distract
just finish.
Listen,
finish.
We're going to make sure that all the people who have been engaged in the scandals in this government, that have stolen money, we will recover the monies, we will prosecute them and obtain justice for the people of our country. So, look, Ghana, Yaya Mobo. Yaya Mobo Dodo.
Se si ade ye nte sika no so. Sika no hyempase. And na house girls ne house boys e wia bi. Ya ye mobododo. Ya nya hiaman. Ghana, enya hiaman. Sika no wo ho, na so hye wo mo paase. E hye wo polytanks mo. But we will find the money. We will recover all for the Ghanaian people and put it to prudent use for the people of our country. That is a solemn promise we make to the Ghanaian people.
Including buying cars.
Thank you very much, Samuel Nete George. He's Member of Parliament for Ningo Pampam. And Honorable Egyapa Mercer is Member of Parliament for Sekendi and also Minister for Thank you for watching. Stay with me. After the break, I have another conversation. Yeah, you are in support of it, right?
100%.
Okay.
This, look, you know the basis for the opposition. All those lands had been distributed to NDC people.
Is that
all?
true?
I'm telling you.
Okay.
All of it.
That's why they are opposing to.
Precisely.
Okay.
That's why we're opposed to the National Cathedral.
Yes.